Hello, this is Mary Jo with Fred's Used Websites, and this video will address working with tables on your website. As you can see, because I have an option to log out, I am logged in. I'm going to go ahead and click on the quick edit for the body of the page. I have some lorem ipsum in here, which is just dummy text. And I'm going to show you what happens when you insert a table using some of the attributes that are available to you. So I'm going to click, just put my cursor in the middle of the text because perhaps I want to add some information here in a table. Right now you can see that my cursor is left justified. This whole block of text is left justified. And down here on the third row of icons, to insert or edit a table, it's the table icon with the little pencil. I'm going to click on that. And now a pop-up box is going to allow me to put some attributes in there. So first I want to show you what happens if I put in just using the default settings. And so they assume that you want a 2-column, 2-row table. It has no cell padding. It has no cell spacing. The alignment is not set. There's no border. And the width isn't set. There's nothing set on here. This is simply the default settings. If I insert it, that's what it's going to look like. It's a collapsed table. If I don't do anything at all, my cursor is in that top left cell. If I just start typing without clicking anywhere else, it will add the text right there in that top left cell of the table. Okay, that was going with just the default. Now I'm going to add a couple spaces, and I'm going to say, actually I always put a space above and below a table when I'm adding a table into the editable portion of the website. It's better to give yourself a little bit of room. You can always take a space out, but once you have the table in, it's very difficult to insert a space ahead of it. So this time I'm going to insert a table. I'm going to allow the 2-column, 2-row default, but now I'm going to put 15 pixels, or no, maybe 10 pixels, padding. Cell padding is space inside the cell so that the words do not bump right up against the edge of each cell. I'm going to also add cell spacing of 10 pixels, and once again that's on the outside of the cell, and it places 10 pixels between the edges of the cell. The alignment, I'm going to say center, and I'm going to leave everything else at the default and insert that. So now you can see that the little dotted lines are spaced further apart. That's the cell spacing, the outside edge of each cell from one to the next is a 10 pixel spacing. You can also see inside the cell where my cursor defaulted to, in that top left cell, there is a 10 pixel padding around the inside of the cell. So if I have not clicked anywhere yet, that's the default setting. You can see how different it looks with spacing around the word. Next, I'm going to insert a cell. It's taking just a minute to come up here. I'm going to allow the defaults for the columns and the rows to stay in there. I'm going to give it padding on the inside of each cell and padding between the spacing between the cells. This time I'm not going to set the alignment, and I'm going to give it a width of 75%, which is going to be 75% of the total editable portion of this page. You are better off using percentages than you are using actual pixels. You're much more likely to have the result you want by using a percentage. Now watch what happens. I have not set an alignment. I merely set a width. I'm going to insert it. I'm going to allow my cursor to stay right where it is. And now you can see what has happened. That entire table is 75% of the editable portion. However, the cells will grow to accommodate whatever I've put in them. I'm going to show you one more thing on this particular table that I've inserted. Now I'm going to go down to this third row of icons, and I'm going to choose the third icon in, which looks like a cell. The second icon in is obviously indicating a row, but the third icon in is indicating one particular cell, which is the cell where my cursor was. And now it's going to allow me to apply attributes to simply that one cell. And what this will help you do is, once again, on the cell, the only thing I'm going to change is the width. And once again, I'm going to use a percentage. I'm going to say I want this particular cell to be 25%. And notice here I have an opportunity to either update just that one cell, all the cells in the row, or all the cells in a column. I'm going to choose the column, and I'm going to update it. And now you can see that the cell where my cursor was is 25% of the total width of the table that I had inserted. And that entire column is now 25% of the total. I want you to notice that I've only, in each of these tables that I've inserted, I have only had my cursor in one cell of each of these tables. And I want you to see what happens now when I submit these changes and I save these tables. You don't see the lines on the tables because I didn't turn them on. When I go ahead and click on the quick edit for the body of this page, it's when you're in the editor you see the dotted lines, and I'll show you how to turn those lines on and off in just a second. My main point at this moment is to show you that these tables become corrupt if you don't place something in every cell of the table. So I want you to notice here that my tables are now reduced to one cell each because I did not place something in each cell. So right now in this top table, first of all I'm going to turn the lines on. So that's going to show them now. And I'm going to come to this second grouping of icons on the third row. I can insert above, a whole row above. I can insert a whole row below, wherever my cursor was placed. So my cursor, well, there it goes. So now I have a row above and a row below. And what I suggest to do so that your table does not become corrupt is place your cursor in the cell and just put 3 spaces. That's enough to hold it. I can also, I just placed my cursor in that center cell. I can add a column to the right. I can also add a column to the left or before it. And now once again, I'm going to put my cursor in each cell in turn and put some spaces in. And I have purposely not put spaces in every single cell because I want you to see what happens if I don't. If I don't put spaces in there, when I submit it, the table will once again be corrupted in the cells that it holds the formatting and in the cells that it no longer allows me to edit. It takes just a moment to come up here. And I'm going to click on the quick edit of the page. And now this is a perfect example you can see that my first row I have 2 cells, and where I had that third cell that I didn't click in, that is corrupted. I cannot place anything there. Second row, the same thing happened. I have only 2 cells that are editable, and that third area is corrupt. However, on the third row, I had placed my cursor in each one of these cells and just put a couple of spaces. So now you can see I could type in that one. It will accept content. So that's the only thing you need to be really careful of when you insert a table. Put something, even if it's spaces, in each cell. The other thing that you could do, I could add, I'm just messing around with this table a little bit so I can show you that I'm adding things on the top and on the bottom. And now what I'm going to do on this particular table, I'm going to click on the cell and say that I want it to be 50% of the total width. And I'm going to update that row. So now it's 50-50. And now while my cursor is somewhere clicked in that table, I can edit the entire table. And what I'm going to demonstrate to you now is what happens when the width of the table is chosen to be 100%. It's going to take up 100% of that editable portion of the page. And oftentimes you are using a table specifically to contain information. So for instance, if I wanted to add a picture in here and I want the pictures to be spaced evenly across the page, then I would say 100% so that it takes up the entire width of the editable portion of the page. And I'm just going to choose a logo there. You can see that I had several different sizes of logo. Of course, you're always going to fill in a description and a title to give those search engines something to see. The appearance, I'm not going to worry about that alignment. I'm just going to go ahead and insert it because I've already given attributes to my table. I can, however, center that logo just by using the alignment. And it doesn't matter if you do it before you insert the logo or after you insert it, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to submit that change. Make sure that you put your spaces in each cell of the table before you submit the change. Submitting the change is what will make it corrupt the table. Oh, and I must have hit that toggle. The lines to show on the table or not to show on the table, that's a toggle. And I must have inadvertently clicked it twice. So they're invisible again. But there you have the basic idea of a table, how you can hold content in specific areas to spread them out across the editable portion of the page.